Welcome to Ethiopia Today. Our presentation focuses on the following areas. Ethiopia's 10-year development plan enhances bilateral cooperation. Ethiopia is working focused on expanding alternative ports. African Union-Egad-U N trilateral mechanism holds indirect talks with Sudan opposition and women's groups. 11,000 more African millionaires recorded in 2021. The details are presented as follows. Ethiopia's newly launched 10-year development plan opens the door to bilateral cooperation that will benefit Ethiopia and China, Ethiopian ambassador to China Teshome Taga said. The plan aims to attract major foreign direct investment, and China is one of our major targets, the ambassador told CGTN. He added that infrastructure remains vital for both national and African needs, including projects in energy, railway, highway, water, and telecommunications. Ethiopia expects China's public and private companies to play an active role. Ambassador Teshome said that in terms of commerce we have an ongoing trade relationship with China. In order for us to increase our export to the Chinese market, we also need to work with Chinese companies so that productivity is increased in the agriculture sector, in industry, in manufacturing, and so forth. Technology transfers and human resource development have become important dimensions in Ethiopia-China cooperation, he added. Africa-China cooperation benefits both sides, Ambassador Teshome said. The benefits are shared, and I think this is something that Ethiopia would like to continue to do. And doing that would enhance our cooperation at the bilateral level, and at the same time, it will also contribute positively to Africa-China cooperation. Because of the ongoing pandemic and its impact on global trade, the ambassador said that he expected more Chinese investment in the health field, especially in the pharmaceuticals and medical equipment sectors in Ethiopia. He also expected more trade cooperation. We already have products that have entered the Chinese market. Now in those areas we would like to see an increased volume of trade, selling more products, and we would also like to diversify our exports to the Chinese market. Ambassador Teshome also said that the Belt and Road Initiative, BRI, is about infrastructure as well as people-to-people engagements, and it facilitates huge trade and investment. Infrastructure is our priority, as I said, at national level and regional level, he added. That's why Ethiopia has joined the Belt and Road Initiative from the very beginning. Zhao Zhiyuan, Chinese ambassador to Ethiopia, on his part also made the remarks during the China-Ethiopia Investment and Trade Cooperation Forum co-hosted by the Chinese Embassy in Ethiopia, the Ethiopian Investment Commission, and the Investment Promotion Agency of the Ministry of Commerce of China in Addis Ababa, INA reported. Chinese FDI in Ethiopia and other main indicators of bilateral commercial cooperation have maintained sound momentum during the first quarter of 2022. Zhao said for consecutive years, China has been Ethiopia's biggest trading partner, the top source of FDI and the largest project contractor as the two countries deepen cooperation through the Belt and Road Initiative. Ethiopia's exports to China also rise by 8% in 2021 over 2020 figure. Foreign direct investment from Chinese companies grew by 346%. The value of newly signed contract projects by Chinese companies in Ethiopia was up by 25% in 2021 according to the ambassador Zhao. On another development, Ethiopia is working focused on expanding alternative ports in Kenya, Somaliland, and Eritrea. Deputy Prime Minister and Foreign Affairs Minister Demeke Mekonnen told the House of People's Representatives that Ethiopia will not continue to be a close observer to issues with regard to the Red Sea, and is working focused on expanding alternative ports in Kenya, Somaliland, and Eritrea. To enable this big country with huge population accesses alternative ports, the ministry has designed a geopolitical strategy it has been working to realize, INA reported. As a country close to the Red Sea, there is no rationale to exclude from being beneficiary of the region, Deputy Prime Minister noted. Any arrangement that excludes Ethiopia with respect to issues related to the Red Sea is unacceptable, Demeke stressed. Ethiopia will continue to pursue its interest in the region in a peaceful, cooperative, fair, and equitable manner. He also pointed out that Ethiopia is strengthening its relationship and cooperation with Kenya, and agreements are underway to strengthen border security, infrastructure, and trade ties. Supply of electric power to Kenya will start at the beginning of August, Demeke disclosed. The Lamu project is the other major infrastructure that will serve Ethiopia as an alternative port to its export-import, he stated, further recalling that a joint center has been set up to handle the trade exchange between the countries. He further said the growing relation and cooperation of Ethiopia and Kenya in different sectors will benefit the people of the two sisterly countries socially and economically. Sudan. A Union-Egad-U N trilateral mechanism holds indirect talks with Sudan opposition and women's groups. The United Nations Integrated Transition Assistance Mission in Sudan UNITAMS, African Union, and Intergovernmental Authority on Development, EGAD trilateral mechanism has held meetings with several Sudanese stakeholders, including the Women's Rights Support Group, the Sudanese Revolutionary Front, the Forces of the Declaration of Freedom and Change, and the resistance committees in Khartoum State, Dabanga, Sudan reported. An official statement issued by the UNITAM's spokesperson on Sunday evening said that the Union-Egad-U N trilateral mechanism has held several meetings part of indirect round of Sudanese talks, facilitated by the mechanism, which was launched on Thursday, May 12. On Saturday the 14th of May, the mechanism met with the Women's Rights Support Group. The mechanism also held a positive and fruitful meeting this morning with the movements of the Sudan Revolutionary Front, SRF, and the parties to the Juba Peace Agreement to explore stakeholders' views on transitional institutions. On Sunday, the trilateral mechanism met with delegations from Independent Resistance Committee and Resistance Coordination Committees in Khartoum State in recognition of the central role they play in the Sudanese political arena. The mechanism discussed committee members' views on the political process in Sudan. Later on Sunday, the mechanism met the forces of the Declaration of Freedom and Change. The statement concludes that the trilateral mechanism is actively working to consolidate an appropriate framework for the intra-Sudanese dialogue through an integrated and non-exclusive approach that enhances its role in facilitating dialogue between stakeholders and end the current political impasse. The Union-Egad-UNITAM's joint effort has been established to support Sudan through the next phase of the political process, to facilitate a Sudanese-led political process with the aim of restoring a civilian-led transition to democracy. Some rebel movements and protest groups, including the Forces for Freedom and Chance and the resistance committees of Khartoum, refused to participate in the tripartite initiative or take part in any dialogue with the military coup authorities, and those who support them, as they fear that this will legitimize the coup. Others, such as the Sudan Revolutionary Front, have called on the revolutionary parties to make concessions and engage in the dialogue. Last week, the mechanism issued a caution to only give credence to communications released on the mechanism's official platforms on the progress of the talks. A joint Union-Egad-U N statement on Tuesday said that given the circumstances, these talks will initially be held in an indirect format. Regular communication will be issued by the mechanism to keep the public informed. However, the statement cautions any documents purporting to be part of the trilateral mechanism that are not issued by the Union-Egad or UNITAM's official platforms are not endorsed or recognized by the mechanism. Africa. 11,000 more African millionaires in 2021. Africa's share of millionaires grew by 8% between 2020 and 2021, according to a recent report by intelligence firm New World Wealth and advisory firm Henley & Partners African Business Reports. This year, private wealth currently held on the African continent climbed to $2.1 trillion. From $2 trillion last year, the annual survey of Africa's luxury sector found. Total wealth, explains the report, refers to the private wealth held by all the individuals living in a country, including all their assets. That's property, cash, equities, and business interests minus any liabilities. While the number of African millionaires has grown, there are still not as many as there were before COVID-19. In 2010, the continent was the home of some 150,000 millionaires, 14,000 more than this year's figure. The report also outlines the uneven distribution of private wealth across the continent's geography. Only 5 countries account for over 50% of Africa's total wealth: South Africa, Egypt, Nigeria, Morocco, and Kenya. These countries also receive the most investment by foreign companies and register the strongest economic growth annually. South Africa itself hosts over twice as many millionaires as any other African country, while Egypt has the most billionaires on the continent, according to the report. Africa is also the home to a new crop of wealthy economies in Rwanda, Uganda, and Mauritius, which are among the fastest-growing markets in the world. We forecast private wealth growth of over 60% in all 3 countries in the next decade, driven by especially strong performance in the technology and professional services sectors, says Andrew Amoyles, head of research at New World Wealth. Among the high net worth individuals, the African continent hosts 500 more multi-millionaires than last year. The recent rise of huge fortunes reveals the growing threat of wealth distribution across the continent and the need for effective regional economic policies to narrow the inequality gap. Commenting in the report, international author and CEO of my growth fund Venture Partners Vusi Thembekwayo says the rise of multi-millionaires, as well as centimillionaires and billionaires on the African continent, supports the idea that the continent needs to deal with the legacy industries whose ownership structures perpetuate inequality. The total private wealth held in Africa is expected to rise by 38% over the next 10 years, reaching $3 trillion by 2031, the report revealed. However, growth has not prevailed for the past few years. From 2011 to 2021, the total wealth held in Africa has fallen by 7%. This was down to economic instability due to the 3 C's, namely COVID, climate, and conflict, which slowed the accumulation of wealth on the African continent. Group head of private clients at Henley & Partners Dominic Volek says, the shockwaves that followed Russia-Ukraine crisis have reverberated across the world, creating even greater levels of uncertainty and volatility for individuals, families, businesses, investors, and governments alike. He comments in the report, although Africa's share of global wealth has increased over the past 20 years, wealth levels in Europe and North America have always far outstripped those found in the continent. In 2021, the United States held 41% of the world's millionaires, representing around 23,600,000 people, while Africa's share was below 0.5%. In addition, around 90% of adults in Africa own less than $10,000, while this number falls to 26% in North America. Here's the end of our presentation. Like this video if you enjoyed it. Subscribe to our channel and hit the notification bar so that you won't miss any of our exciting videos. Don't be the only one to enjoy the video. Share it with your loved ones too. Don't forget also to check out our collections on description section. May God bless Africa and its people. Many thanks.